My name is Eoin Dubsky. I also live in the Netherlands, but I'm Irish. And today I'd like to share with you a couple of slides and a story about helping the Single-Use Plastics Directive banned products ban with citizen science. And there we are. So to begin, Coastwatch is an NGO and a network across Europe, founded in 1987 in Ireland. It's best known for its annual survey every autumn, coastal eco audit carried out mainly by trained volunteers, which aims to give a representative insight into the challenges in coastal habitats. And in Portugal, since I think 1990, the Coastwatch survey has been run by Jota. And that little map there shows the 2025, so last autumn, the completed survey units, the little dots. I don't know if you can see those on your screen, but yeah, lots more dots around the places which are most populated on the island of Ireland. Or in the Republic of Ireland, because there were very few in Northern Ireland that year, but often it's an all-island survey. So the Single-Use Plastics Directive is a directive, so it's transposed into national law. It's been on the books now for 5 years, and it aims to prevent and reduce the impact of certain plastic products on the environment. There are lots of like recycling schemes and lots of things to try to reduce and avoid single-use plastics in Europe with varying levels of success. And in that law, there's also a ban on certain products which, through litter surveys, actually through environmental surveys over the years, have been found to keep turning up on the coast in the marine environment and in these surveys, and they're easily replaceable by either you just don't need them at all, or you can use an alternative which is not made of throwaway plastic. So the law says member states shall prohibit the placing on the market of the single-use plastic products listed in Part B of the annex, and products made from oxo-degradable plastics. That's sort of the add-on. That's mostly shopping bags. So the items there you see, it's things like plastic cutlery, plastic plates, these throwaway drink stirrers made of plastic, food containers made of polystyrene, EPA expanded polystyrene, cotton sticks. Cotton sticks you might not take down to the beach, but other things lots of people, they take with them down to the beach. And they're banned. Now, as that law mentions, the ban basically bans the manufacture and import. That's effectively what it means. And so any stock which a retailer maybe had in their shop, or that a cafe had, they didn't have to destroy that stock. They weren't prohibited from using it. If they had, for example, plastic stirrers in 2021, they didn't have to throw them into the bin immediately or get them recycled. They could continue, if they chose to let customers take these with them and just hope that they don't throw them away. But they shouldn't buy any more of them. That was the idea. And the law, however, has no requirement whatsoever on reporting on the banned product. So there's just this assumption. So there's other parts of the law. I mentioned recycling. It's really, really detailed. It's like, this is exactly how much recycling, what your targets need to be. And we really need you to, like, the commission says, and here's how you keep us informed so that we're being really transparent and we're all moving together towards this this common goal. On the ban, the commission, sorry, it's not the commission, the council, commission and parliament together are responsible for making these laws, and they together kind of said, just get it done, member states, right? a ban is a ban. The official monitoring of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive is a poor substitute for that. So we have monitoring. OSPAR litter protocol bundles together some of the banned items with non-banned items, so you can say it's hard to disaggregate those. And in the case of Ireland, there are very few sites. So this is the official data. This is where Ireland as a member state reporting on the environmental status of for litter. So I think they use these 5 beaches, visit them 4 times a year, and look at a stretch of 100 meters for these kind of litter items, so small litter items, and say what they can find there, what they found. And that for a country with over 7,000 kilometers coastline, that's not even a rounding error. It's not serious. So that's not good enough. Well, what we have is lots and lots of citizen science data. I mentioned Coastwatch and the Coastwatch survey, so we've been gathering information about what's on the shore for decades now. And Coastwatch added extra questions to the autumn survey in 2021. So we already had litter, some of them, some of these litter items, as I said, for decades, but these being very particular, like these are the banned items, look for those banned items. Surveyors and media were alerted to the reason for it. So there's also that kind of training a bit and awareness raising. There was a validation pilot session also to kind of learn, get that learning in quickly, so that we're not gathering data that which Sven was saying, for example, it's not particularly useful. In that year, more than 80% of surveyors completed the banned items questions. The Coastwatch survey, all those little dots I showed you earlier, each one of those represents a 500-meter stretch of coast. Importantly, not just beaches. So it's 500 meters stretch of coast. It could be rocky shore. It could be all sorts of things. And of course, we encourage people not to take unnecessary risks and so on. And then thanks to the Coastwatch survey, Ireland has a clear picture of the efficacy of the Single-Use Plastics Directive banned products ban. And it's a mixed picture. So the results from the autumn 2021 survey showed a dramatic fall in the number of shores littered by one or more of the banned items. That fall slowed, however, in 2023, and then reversed for some of the items. So some of the items we started seeing, is ticking up again, which doesn't make any sense if the stores and cafes aren't buying in, because they're not manufacturing it in the back of the store, right? So someone is selling them or giving them single-use plastic cutlery or plates or stirrers, that kind of thing, things to keep your food warm or just help you transport it, and they shouldn't be. So citizen science data on the full list of these banned items is now incorporated into the official Marine Strategy Framework Directive Marine Litter Monitoring Protocol for Ireland. So that's a nice sort of outcome. Just briefly, I'm looking at the time, but so Coastwatch has been doing this sort of thing for decades, as I mentioned, and as I showed you, the official data just isn't credible, for when you're trying to isn't that useful when you're if you want to learn, is this ban working or not, is it showing up on the coast? So Coastwatch really came with a lot to offer, and we do, like Sven was saying, we do press releases about our reports and so on, but you also have to be smart, right? Your interest as the Citizen Science Initiative or as the NGO or whatever is not always exactly the same as the journalists. The media, they need to sell newspapers, or they want gotchas. We don't want gotchas necessarily, like we want like, hey, look at this, not you're doing an awful job, because it's hard to cooperate with people if they're you know doing gotchas. So there's that cooperation, you know, and sort of transparency, and it's not nice to learn that things aren't working out, but when you build up a good rapport, you can say, look, what are we going to do? And so I'm going to move on, actually. I'll get back to that. So here's that trend I described to you. You know, like these should all be going down if there is no leakage, if there's no one either selling or manufacturing this stuff. Again, no one's manufacturing it, so it's all about someone is selling it. Ireland shares an open border with the United Kingdom in Northern Ireland. Some of those items are not banned in Northern Ireland, so it could be very easy for, even if the Irish government really does do 100% of all that it possibly can do, that still some of the stuff is just going to leak across. And of course, yeah, it's what this survey is of what we find on the coast. And of course, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone came down to the beach with this stuff. It could have swept up. So we take that into consideration too, but there is still heaps of work that can be done. So this is about the collaboration piece, and the ECA there is in the environmental compliance assurance. So we're like really working together. So Coastwatch was invited to share the results of this survey in more detail and examine possible causes of that stagnation. So this kind of trend line, wait a minute, that should just be going away. This should be like a solved problem. In a workshop called by government for all relevant agencies. It was like, get everyone in the room. What's going on here? The meeting and follow-up triggered a review of enforcement. So the Environmental Protection Agency sent warning letters out to wholesalers. That's the enforcement piece, saying, reminding them they're not allowed to be selling this stuff. And these wholesalers who have like websites, you know, kind of B2B websites, they then, after those letters, they weren't selling this stuff anymore. However, there is other leakage, there is other nonsense going on in Europe. You can go onto Amazon right now and order this stuff. And there are also not Irish wholesalers, but wholesalers from Britain and elsewhere who, for example, will sell you single-use plastic cutlery with the word reusable on the package. Well, it's still single-use plastic cutlery, so that's cheating. At the retail level, the ban is still not fully working, as I mentioned. So plastic ice cream spoons, for example, are still being offered at seaside outlets and seen in adjacent marine litter. Now the SUP is under review, and Coastwatch has recommended that, among other changes, the law also prohibits, quote, making available on the market banned products. So it's not only the responsibility of wholesalers and manufacturers, they're not the only duty holders here, but also make it, you know, don't put retailers and you know, the let's say shops and restaurants and cafes in this awkward position where they can, you know, if they can get their hands on it, they're not committing a crime, they're just saving money. You know, it's just, you know, it puts them in an awkward position to draft the law the way that they have. They should tighten that up, and if they do, then it becomes really clear for everyone, and then that also helps stimulate the market for the alternatives, because right now the alternatives cost a bit more, not all great. I hate drinking from straws that are made out of metal. I feel like I'm drinking from a robot's drink or something. So yeah, there's work to be done, and that's it. Thank you very much.